In our 9th episode, Brandon and I explore the 6th manager intelligence skill, investment. You will learn what the skill is, why the best managers have honed and developed it, and some practical tools you can utilize to develop this skill to lead strong. Let's dive right in.
Congratulations! You are tuned into Leading Strong, the place to be to level up your leadership effectiveness on one of your most important roles, engaging your employees. Managers are responsible for at least 70% of their employees' engagement. The best managers, like you, lead strong by constantly honing and developing the skills needed to keep their teams engaged. Your hosts, Darren Veresamy and Brandon Miller, are the co-founders of 34 Strong, a company that creates great places to work. Their team has worked in Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and small businesses to lead strong. Now over to Darren.
Welcome to Season 1 of Leading Strong, where we will dive deep to grow your manager intelligence. I'm your host, Darren Veresamy, here to serve you in your continued discovery and growth to lead strong. This episode of Leading Strong is brought to you by 34 Strong, where organizations just like yours become great places to work. To find out more, check out 34strong.com. Hey, Brandon, welcome.
Darren, it's great to be here.
Yeah, we're going to get to talking today about the manager intelligence skill of investment. And when we think of investment, number one, you and I are not investment advisors financially or any of those pieces. But when you invest in your people, you oftentimes do see pretty significant financial results for your organization in the way of productivity, profitability, lower turnover in different areas. That's a big part of why we're focusing on honing these key manager intelligence skills. When we're investing in our people, Brandon, it communicates value and it does help build trust, actually, especially in stressful situations or putting it in the bank account for when we do have stressful situations. And we've seen that in going through, 2020, just on the whole with everything that's going on. Tell us a little bit more about this manager intelligence skill of investment.
Sure. At 34 Strong, we have done just a ton of manager training, thousands of managers we've trained. And in every session, when we are teaching them how to be a great boss, we will ask them to recall the best boss they ever had and share with us some of those qualities. So as we're gathering the different qualities, what will come through every single time is something to the effect of, they invested in me. The best boss I ever had took interest in me, took a specific action item around how to help me become better at what I was doing. They invested in my career. They invested in my advancement, my growth. And so we remember those that take the time to do that with us, and we remember them with fondness. We remember them with admiration. And so therefore, what we know is that this is a skill that can be developed. Those who are very strong in this skill think of people from the standpoint of, I didn't get you all the way done. However, I have come to be an influence in your life, a leader, a manager, a boss. I'm the coach. And as a good coach, I want to help you become the best version of who you are for the season that we are together.
The coaching analogy is always so interesting because for many of us, when we think of a coach or coaching as a boss, sometimes it can come into mind that, we just have to strictly support them and it's hugs and high fives only, right? And it's only just really the feel-good side of coaching. Well, some of our best coaches in our life, whether it's been on the field or maybe we were acting or maybe it was a teacher, or maybe it was a leader, they challenged us to our core a lot of times. Wouldn't you say, Brandon?
Absolutely. I think when we comment on those who really impacted us, that level of investment was their unwillingness to leave us where we were. They were unwilling just to settle for, sorry, Darren, that's not fast enough. I know you can go faster. I know there's another level you can achieve. So get your rear end back out on that track and run another couple laps for me. But right? I mean, that's what a great coach does, is they condition you and they call out potential they see, and they're unwilling to let you settle to be who you thought you were. And we admire, respect, appreciate, and value those people, even if we didn't like them in the time that they were helping us become a better version. This investment means my resource goes to you for your benefit. That's the essence of this skill that we're unpacking today.
Yeah, part of the willingness to step into greatness for your team, for your organization, is rooted in, I love how you said that, Brandon, an unwillingness to let you just remain at where you're at. There's an unwillingness to just allow mediocrity to permeate and realize that we can grow from some of these areas and stepping into that. When a manager is strong in the investment skill and when that's transpiring within a team, what does it look like from the team's perspective, seeing a manager that has these particular skills? What's it feel like for team members?
Yeah, so I think we can capture the 5 out of 5, the mastery of investment with the concept of growth mindset. A 5 out of 5 leader, boss, manager, coaching leader will absolutely be thinking about how to develop, how to further invest in the strengths of, how to shore up areas of incompetency that we need for a specific role or function. These are 5 out of 5 strong investment skill managers. They will devote resources, so time, their energy. At times, I met with a manager recently that was so passionate about investing in his team that when the company didn't approve a specific initiative, he bought it himself. He went and invested in the resource. He got the things in place because to him, the investment and the return on that investment was so important that even though the organization at the time wasn't able to approve, he had leave to go in and do it himself. And I think there's so much power to that. So much that can be pulled away from how much as a boss am I willing to invest my own resources into my people, not just what's allotted for me within the organization. These are 5 out of 5s in this skill.
Yeah, and people feel that. Again, we don't want to minimize the importance of the power of the statement that we get back constantly when we ask that question, Brandon, of describe the best manager that you had. Remember, a lot of times it ties right back into they invested in me. And that's a feeling. That's a way that people show up and they can feel when they've been invested in. And that gets them to show up just a little bit more and stretch a little bit further each time. There's always some key words that we share with each of these skills and the highs and lows of each of these skills. I'll share a couple of the key words here. You talked about growth mindset already. I know we're going to unpack that as we're getting a little further today. But we've got the growth mindset. We've got selfless and development in kind of focusing. Can you tell us a little bit about the importance of being selfless and the development focus?
Because if I'm your boss and you and I are out doing something for work and we have occasion to stop and have a meal, well, investment can be as simple as I'm going to pick up the tab for the meal. I mean, that's a simple investment. And whether I can expense that or not, that's still. But in that conversation, I might be looking for ways to hear areas where you want to grow, areas where you're excited about something you're learning, areas where you are feeling like, we just gave me this. I really think I could run down a pathway that looks like this. And those perspectives really pull out of a person a willingness to come along. Like, okay, you're going to invest in me. I want to go with you, because this is exciting, this is thrilling. And what we know is that right up near pay, when people think about retaining, if the place where I'm at is clearly investing in my future, I am much more likely, in fact, statistically, significantly more likely to stay with you if I believe you're investing into me for my future.
Yeah, and it's for my future. And a lot of times, that's not only just from a career perspective, maybe sitting down having that meal like you talked about, it's they invest in me so I can grow as a person. And that's going to show up at work. And a lot of times there's ripple effects in terms of how people are showing up at home, and it carries forward from that. Tell us a little bit about the highs and the lows of investment. What does it look like on each end of the scale for this particular skill?
Yeah, very practical form of investment. High level of it is it's measurable. It's a measurable investment into people's growth and development. So as we know, I happen to speak for an organization that will train executive leaders and up-and-coming key leaders how to become their strongest and best self, challenge them, grow them, provide a space for collaboration. And whenever I have occasion to speak to people who have been invested to be in this group, I hear gratitude. I hear them describing how this experience really has served to sharpen them, advance them, and grow them. So at the high level, you are investing in people to the point where they can take a step back and measure. It's weighty, it's clear, it's present. And there's a joy in it. There's an excitement of, Darren, you got that new thing that we sent you to the course, the seminar, the workshop, and you came back and you got it. And now you're excited. And I'm excited with you. And now we're going to take that learning and we're going to apply it. And then we're going to have this product that we get to all stand back and go, wow, look at what he did. Look at how amazing that was. That's investment, because it feels like, wow, you set me up to be the star. You set me up to be successful. And that's an ongoing pattern that we will look for in places that we work. We want to know that coach has my future in mind while he's dealing with today's daily grind.
That's it. And on that side there too, when we're investing, love what you just said there. They come back, they've got this energy. That energy becomes contagious because other team members see that, right? So that one person comes back in, they show up strong, and what starts to happen? They start to reciprocate. They might start investing in other people. And again, when we're developing any of these skills, when we're investing in our team members, when we're investing the time like you're doing right now to invest in honing and growing your own effectiveness and your manager intelligence skills, it helps you to level up. But as that starts to become the norm of the habits in the culture, we start seeing these sorts of elements taking place across the team and the organization. Now, when we're in the low level of this particular skill, it can be pretty painful, right? So it's when a manager doesn't have any time to spend on employees. They're always too busy. They're kicking off meetings, never making time, just letting people just kind of run completely on their own. We can fall into that old statement of no news is good news, but that could completely cut us in the wrong direction. Tell us a little bit more about that, because that is a common term many of us have heard. I know I heard it a lot in my career in the past. Coming up,
I think there's a mindset that can exist, especially if we didn't have a good mentor, we didn't have good leaders, the models were missing. So we're left with perhaps one of the indicators of a 1 out of 5 low level here is, I don't think I have resources to give, to invest. So I don't have time. I don't have any budget or even my own finances for sure, or I don't have anything to give. I can train you on the job, but it's a low esteem of what I could offer you. And so on that low end of this skill where there is significant room to develop it, it will start with just this shift around really evaluating how I approach growth. How do I approach development? And do I feel like there's a cap? It's screwed on tight. This is it. Or do I think it's open and there's room here to expand? So in some professional settings, we've certainly seen the low end of this, where there are those just feeling like they're languishing in routine. It's just the same thing and there's not this fresh, innovative growth. And we've seen the opposite in places all the way down into manufacturing, certainly in professional service, into more of the government space or education space where it's like being on the cutting edge. I'm getting brought into new things. I don't think that I'm just a means to an end. I'm a ho-hum. I'm here for the paycheck. Investment at the high level has people enthusiastic, has them looking forward to what they do because they can see their future. And there's even a level of exuberance for what I accomplished today. I feel accomplished.
Yeah, so it does continue to kind of keep the machine running, kind of keep people feeling like they're in a state of growth. It's a great transition here because investment does communicate value. We know Carol Dweck from Stanford, she's written the book Mindset, but she talks a lot about the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Let's unpack that just briefly here and talk about how investment really plays towards the growth mindset.
Yeah, on the growth side of this mind, so Carol does a great job of talking about fixed versus growth and understanding the way each mindset will impact the overall culture within a team or an entire organization. And through her work, she's helped us to understand that in a fixed place, I will avoid ownership of my mistakes. I give up easily. I'm limited by my resources, my background. my place of origin, whatever those mean, self-limiting belief, doubt is where I function from. So when a person is in fixed, it's very finite in its place. And so therefore, we don't want people to know when we fail. We don't want people to know that I don't have what it takes to finish something. It's a place that becomes very lonely because I can't let you in. You'll find out my secret. And that can become a place where it really evidences a low trust environment, because why would I share my failures? You'll use them against me. So that's the fixed mindset, which I know for both of us, we've seen this exist, public, families, sports teams. It's putting a lid on people. Years back when it was the glass ceiling or the invisible wall, you can't cross that line. That's not for you. Those are fixed mindsets. So when Dr. Dwight gets into the opposite growth, it is a massive transition. And for some of us comes very natural. We live over there. Others of us, we have to condition ourselves to move to that space.
Yeah, and it can be a challenge, but it's actually asking that question of what are the things that I'm saying, what are the things that I'm doing that are putting limits. Like one of the things we hear is failure is the limit of my abilities. Well, one thing that's fascinating, I think Carol had said this in the book, Grit, which will be one of the books that we recommend today as we're talking about it. One of the things that he mentions in there when he was interviewed was success isn't permanent and failure isn't permanent, right? And it's what do you do with both of those places? Because success is actually being able to, how do you deal with failure and raise up and rise up to that next level anyhow. So when we're talking about how investment communicates value, what are maybe 2 or 3 different ways that people that are listening in, our listeners, can look forward and maybe try some different approaches to hone their skill of investment?
Here's one of the most practical mindset shifts when we think from fixed to growth as a boss coach, as a manager, a leader, beloved, respected, admired. Your success does not intimidate me. And if your success means one day you will be beyond me, then I'm happy to have contributed to that outcome. So a very practical way to develop this skill of investment, set people up for success and celebrate their wins, promote their wins, be the megaphone, because from that position, it so strongly says, you're amazing. You have awesome abilities. You could go and become the best that you could become, and I'm going to help you become that. Now, this doesn't mean that you succumb to a fixed mindset for yourself and say, well, I'm just limited, so I've capped. That's not the goal. So if you're developing people who are up-and-comers, very strong, have lots of opportunity, by all means, keep growing with them. But if you can recognize, because some of us have the vulnerability to see this, when you can see a rocket going by you and you're in an airplane, let the rocket on by, let them become who they are to become. That's a very high-minded, magnanimous approach that really embodies this skill of investment.
So celebrate that growth with your team. And right now, as we're working in a remote environment, quote that you've said quite recently, frequently when we were chatting, that I really think it's important, is right now commending the common, right? So celebrating what might seem like, hey, that's not as big of a deal. The process of getting things done right now, as we've shifted and people are still adapting to working remote or kind of hybrid work environments, depending on where you're at, how things are going, it's just that much more challenging to get to that win on time. So when people are figuring that out and battling with the challenges of what they have, it can be pretty phenomenal to make sure that we're acknowledging that and celebrating that and basically telling them, I see you in this process. Our book recommendation for this week is the Angela Duckworth book, Grit, which I just personally finished recently. It's an outstanding book, but Brandon, share a little bit about the power of this book from an investment standpoint.
Greatest gift you can give to your kids is the gift of grit. I have found that this is one of those qualities that steals you from the pressures and the challenges and the global pandemics and the significant ways that life might come at you, i.e. 2020, in ways you never thought possible. And gritty people are resilient. They keep their face like flint to the wind. They know hardship will come. They know there's going to be detractors. They expect that reality, but they're firm, they're strong, they're resolute. So with our teams, much like with our families, we want to develop this mindset that failure isn't final. Failure is the first step in learning. We don't give up just because we didn't get the goal. We come back and we work at it again. We readjust after success, knowing success, as Carol has mentioned in the book, great college and football coach, that success isn't something we attain, achieve, and hold on to. We keep moving forward. So even success after success can become a mindset, a model that we aim for. So I really appreciate the place where Duckworth takes you in this work and how to grow this as it pertains to the way we want to invest into our people to be gritty, to be firm, strong in that way.
So important. And one of the acronyms, Brendan mentioned it, I just want to make sure that we capture that in the grit mindset, is the word FAIL. The acronym for it, many of you might have heard it, but it stands for First Attempt in Learning. So it's a first, it's not an end. When you put an end on that, it becomes a limit, and you've closed that loop, and it becomes a very, very much a fixed mindset in going through. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. We lost him here at the beginning of 2020. That's how we started this year. There's a great quote that he shares that I think really embodies the power of investment. And it's the most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great in what they want to do. That is such an important piece of the puzzle. And when you're managing people, you don't have to be Kobe Bryant, but those words of wisdom are a big part of what you can do in investing to get them to become the person that they want to be. And sometimes you might see just a little bit further than they can. You can get that stretch goal right out in front of them. Whereas Brandon was giving the example of my old track days, right? Of pushing me just beyond what I thought I could reach. That's exactly what we can do when we're managing people. And that will allow them to tap into potential that maybe you see they had, that they're just coming into realizing and recognizing that they had. So as we're wrapping up here today with Manager Intelligence, the skill today of investment, Brandon, any closing thoughts or final points for everybody to close out with today?
Absolutely. So again, one of the very practical takeaways for this skill is being aware of how I promote members of my team, because investment does have one of its strong roots and strong evidences in how am I promoting? How am I showing up as the promoter, the one who really wants to help my people become where they can grow into? And so a simple way to do that is to take acknowledgement in front of your own team. This is the bright moment this person had. This is when they had it, and this is how we celebrate it. And when that becomes routine of promoting and building, that's where investment starts to become its culture. It's natural. It's how we do what we do and why we are successful.
Great closing points there. Brandon, thank you so much for your insights this week. And I encourage everybody to really think about what are some of the little nuggets that you heard this week that can get you looking at how you're investing in your team. How are you being that manager that you had, that you thought of when you were asked who was the best manager that you had, that invested in you? How are you showing up as that person to your team? Because you have the power to do that. Just take that moment, maybe reflect and put that time back into it and look towards that. Brandon, thank you so much for your insights. We'll catch everybody next time when we are unpacking the manager intelligence skill of innovative. Until then, thank you so much. If you want to continue your growth in Leading Strong by hanging out with others committed to Leading Strong, join one of our LinkedIn or Facebook groups by looking for the Leading Strong Show. The truth is, organizational results like productivity, profitability, and low employee turnover rise and fall based on employee engagement. The world is starving for strong leaders as they not only impact an organization's performance, they create massive influence on an employee's overall health and well-being. If you want to learn more about becoming a great place to work or 34 Strong's signature Leading Strong programs, simply go to 34strong.com, where you will also be able to access resources you can start using immediately and stay connected with us. I want to thank you for sharing this episode with everyone you know who will benefit. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting channels, and please leave us a review. A big shout out to Wendell Fishman for writing and arranging the tune Aunt Lion for Leading Strong. Remember, everyone deserves a great place to work, and any workplace can be great. You can create culture by intention and design, and change happens with every life you touch. I am Darren Verasamy, here to help you lead strong. Until next time, my friends, I'm out.